Hi guys, so today we're gonna finish our material finally, and what I will do today, we'll implement some holes into the walls and then we go over to the base color, roughness, and we'll finish it up. So I think let's start with the holes. We probably have to include them here between those nodes, or rather here. So let's just press Ctrl and the arrow keys to make a bit of space. For the holes, I'll try to keep it simple. Let's just start with the shape generator. Set it to grayscale. Let's choose a circle. Let's increase the softness and also the size. And then let's just use a tile scatter node. And let's set it up so that we have some variance here. Let's set the count to 8 maybe. Color the blend mode to maximum. A bit of luminance variance. Let's go to position, or let's go to size first. Let's set the variance to 0.5. That looks a bit much, but could work. Let's just see. Then let's go to offset and increase the offset variance a bit. Also the offset here and the disorder variance. Let's go to mask and decrease the density. Like this maybe. Actually, let's turn on collision so we don't have colliding holes. And let's do a quick preview. So we blend this over the levels node here and set it to subtract. So let's see how that looks for now. Yeah, I think something like this will work. So let's refine them a bit. Let's use a quantize node on this. And also a bit of directional warp. And let's see which noise we can reuse. Probably some clouds noise or something. Maybe this one. Let's set the directions to 4. Decrease the intensity a bit. Then let's use a slope blur node. And let's take a fine noise, like this fine spots here. Let's set the mode to minimum and blur it slightly, maybe to 1%. Decrease the intensity. Actually, we need to blur it a bit more, like this maybe. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think we are getting there. Not perfect yet, but that could work. Let's maybe work the initial shape a bit with the crystals noise, or crystals noise 2 actually. one direction. Decrease the scale here. And also a bit of directional warping it with the clouds noise again. So let's just reuse this one. So when you hold Control, you can take this input here and input it into this node. But when you hold Control and Alt, it will be copied, so you won't lose this connection. Let's do a warp in 4 directions here. And let's adjust the quantize node and increase it a bit. This needs more refinement as well, so a directional warp, or actually a warp first with a Kelvin noise. Maybe decrease the scale here as well. And a directional warp again with clouds heavy noise maybe. I think we got one somewhere. So Control and F and you can invoke the search. It's actually in the other direction. And again, let's keep the graph clean. Four directions as well, and just a slight blur maybe, or warp. Let's increase the displacement factor to something like 2. Let's blur this just slightly, maybe 8%. Use a histogram edit. Then let's invert this. And let's blend this after our initial blend with let's keep default for now. Decrease the blur amount. let's go back to our tilescatter node. I think that looks fine. Let's clean this up a bit. And now let's make the density of those holes a parameter. So we go to mask, density, right click and expose as input parameter. Let's call it holes density and let's make it a percentage slider. I think we should probably lerp it as 100% is way too much. Maybe from 0 to 15. So lerp float from 0 to 50%. Let's check some seeds, how it looks. So yeah, I think that's enough for that. It's quite a simple but nice effect. Well, now let's go to the base color. I had some tests here already, so we'll go with the brownish color for the wood planks and probably a white color for the wall. So probably it will end up like this a bit, but better of course. So what I like to do for the base color, how I start with it, I like to sharpen our last height output. Let's actually make some space. This. Then I like to blend it with the AO, but that also depends on the material, but for this one it should be nice. Let's use a default blend. And we can also use the curvature map and blend it in. So we use the normal output and use the normal to curvature. We need quite a sharp one. And now we just slightly blend it over this blend here. Then let's use the gradient map dynamic node. And we will sample the colors from an actual image. So I have this here. I will take the color from the planks for the planks and the white from the wall for the wall, and then adjust it accordingly. So let's set it to color. Then we can use this pen here, or the picker actually. Then we just sample over our image. And we'll do the same for the wood. Those colors are not so nice, so let's sample again. Then let's duplicate this one and do another sample with some different colors. Same here. This won't change much though, because it's mostly white or gray. So as you can see, there's not much here. So let's try to pick different colors. Now let's blend those. Wrong input. And here's our mask. Let's swap it. Quite grainy. Let's blend this over the other one. Let's do the same with those. Also, they are quite similar. This one has more details, but we don't want too much details in this part. So we also need a different color for the underlying layer here. Let's see how we'll do this. At first we need the mask for it. Not quite sure where it was. This should work. So let's just do a quick test. We put this into the opacity channel. Need to set this to color. Let's go to the beginning of our graph and see where the mortar is. This will be the mask that we'll need. So let's use a gradient map dynamic on this as well. Wrong button. Let's sharpen this up first. And let's use a noises mask. Can just take this one. Let's use a color variance node to add a bit of grain. I'm not sure if you can see this in the stream, as this is quite a subtle effect. Let's spawn a blend node and use this mask output here. And let's take our blend node to the end of the graph where our base color is. And let's use this one. Actually, we need to go back again, as we need to sample colors for the wood here as well. Let's see how this one looks. It's a bit reddish. Let's use an HCl node. Maybe something like this. The mortar is way too dark. Let's use an HCl node on the mortar color as well and make it a bit brighter. So for the wood, I'd like to have a bit more variation. Let's go back where our wood grain is. And let's use a histogram select node. So this will give us different ranges depending on the position here. I think that one is too reddish as well. Let's reuse this HCl node. I think that this looks a bit better. Let's darken this up. Let's blend those and use our histogram select node as a mask. Oh, hey Adam, which node, the color variance? Sorry, I didn't see your message. The color variance basically adds a bit of grain into your color map. It's quite nice to use it. It's just this really subtle effect, but for realistic materials you can not really see it, but it makes a difference. I mean, it's on the stream probably really hard to see, but maybe I can show it with a bigger grain size and open the image viewer here. So when we overdo it, you can see the grain is quite big. But this is something that you mostly should really just use for a subtle effect. This looks wrong. I think we have an issue somewhere. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it on the stream now because yeah, graph is really big. It's probably the brighter outline here. Actually, I think I took the wrong mask for the base color for the holes. Let's see what we could use instead. Yeah, it's just a purlin, but you can set it really small so it becomes more of a grain. Why do we do an add here? That's obviously wrong. I don't know if I changed something offline, but I'm pretty sure this looked good. That's better, but the mask for the color is still wrong. So let's just use this and add it to our mask. Or let's use a max blend. Or maybe a subtract. Ah, the add works. So for a base, that's quite okay. Let's add some details. I'd like to have some edge dirt. Let's use probably this one for an AO map. Wrong node. We need to invert it. We need to invert this as well. And then let's break this up with the noise a bit. Let's see what we can use here. Probably not this. Maybe the spots, this often looks quite nice for such effects, especially. Hey Animiku, no Russian, unfortunately, sorry. I mean, I don't speak any Russian, unfortunately. Let's swap this with itself. Just slightly. Then we can use an HCl node here, make it a bit darker. Blend it with this node and use this as a mask, opacity mask. So this introduces some dirt in the edges, in the corners. Now that I changed the levels of this one, the other one broke. Oh yeah, nice. It's probably this. there's an issue here as well. This stuff is really annoying when you have to look for those issues and fix them. That's not it. That's still this mask. Okay, it's because it's in this hole, probably. Yeah, I think so as well. Let's blend the holes somewhere else. Now that should work. Somehow the spots are a bit too spotty here. Maybe I'll go in and use the first crunch already. Top left. That's actually, I think that's actually the effect that I introduced, that the top is peeling and it's not peeling in the top corner here, but the mask is now broken again. Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to do something like this live, especially with such a big graph. Yeah, now we don't need this levels node, which I implemented before. That's still not nice. Yeah, I mean, it's not that easy always, because you change one thing in the graph and everything else breaks, and then you need to go back and try to find the reason and try to fix it. It's probably this levels here, I guess. No, not really. Maybe we can fix it when we just use the levels on the blend before the wood. I guess that's the problem. Yes, that's the problem. I mean, it's now all the new introduced stuff. Let's use an add blend instead of the default. Yeah, this doesn't look too nice, but with a different seed it will be gone. Yeah, indeed, but I like to have materials that are not broken. I mean, I probably will fix some things when I finish the stream and implement more stuff, but I think it might be too much for such a stream. I mean, if, I don't know, 90% of the seeds are looking good, it's okay for me. That's true, actually, but you can try. So let's continue with the color. Let's use a grunge. Let's use something that we'd also reuse later. Let's try the smudges grunge here. This one looks actually quite nice. I think it's one of my favorite grunges in the library. Maybe we can change the levels and use it here. I think I would like to have the cracks a bit more visible and darken them up a bit. For this we can use our last height output here and blur it a bit. Maybe with a lower intensity, and then we just blend it over and use a divide blend. Let's go here, blend or use it as an opacity mask and invert the mask. Let's stay with a black color. Again, just slightly. Yeah, I think you could call it like this. let's use a curvature. No, I think I used it here. That's a bit strong. Let's make another one. Blur it up a bit. I think that could be nice for the wood, but we also need to break it up a bit. Let's maybe now use the spots noise. Let's use the convex, not the concave one. Then we decrease the color again. So again, I think it's always good to not overdo those effects, just use them with care. I always like to preview it with different HDRIs to see how the material looks in different conditions. I mean, I mostly start working with the standard one here. This is the Abundant Railway one. I think this works best for color. But then again, you have to preview it with different ones to see how it reacts to different lighting scenarios. But I mostly stay with this one. I often also like to use the hall here, but then not on a plane, but when we have a cube from the top. This is especially nice when you have some nice roughness effects. But yeah, I try to stay with this one the most, because it's not too bright and not too dark. It has much sky in it. Let's actually return to the plane we used, the quad high here. So let's continue on this. What I also sometimes like to blend in is when we use high pass on our last output. And I like to blend it slightly in with an overlay blend. But again, just slightly, otherwise it might become too sharp. It's mostly really subtle, but all those subtle effects add up in the end. We have a bit too much curvature in it. Hey Christina, how are you doing? That's nice to hear. I'm fine too, thanks. I think my wood always tends to be a bit grainy. Maybe let's delete some of the colors here. and green. For me it's actually quite white. Maybe it's the stream quality. I mean, I don't see any blue or green. That's better without that much of grain. Let's use an iterate node on the grunge here. The bottom part for me is quite gray. Weird. Yeah, I don't know, it's not for me. Let's use the material effects, dirt and dust. Oh, I had dust. it's pink for me. Funny. I'll make a short break. I'll be back in like 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back, sorry. So these nodes are quite nice, and I think for most materials they are essential, as they will bring the layers a bit more together. The dust node will add dust and the dirt will add dirt, and I have them in the wrong order. I like to use the dirt effect first and then the dust. So when you choose, click on this is the link category mode. It will allow you to map all the channels at once. When you don't do anything wrong, like I did. Let's see. Roughness was actually just the white color here. Yeah, I messed this up a little bit. Sorry for that. That's metallic, which is wrong, obviously. Yeah, you're right, the mortar might be a bit green. So let's change that. Yeah, it's obviously green. Funny. Let's just use HCl nodes. That's faster. And let's also lighten it up a bit. Yeah, sorry guys, I think you were right. The wood is quite dark as well. Those HCl nodes are quite handy because when you didn't sample nice colors, you can always change it with just one node. So yeah, let's get back to those nodes here. The dirt mask is the mask where the dirt is actually applied. And you always have to take care how to set those nodes up. Most importantly, the ambient occlusion intensity. Could also add a bit of grunge. So I always try to have it like when I have really low values that only a little bit of dirt is visible. And when we go to 100 that it's really dirty. Same for the dust node. And I always like to bump up the normal intensity a bit. So we have a bit of dust over the whole material. And then we can expose the dirt color and the intensity or dirt level. Same for the dust node. In most cases this makes quite a difference. Let's put those in nice categories like dirt for dirt and dust for dust. I don't think I will bother too much with the parameters for the stream. But we can also implement some physics. So for example, when I copy the dirt level name and go to dirt color and press the lambda here, we can put this in and define, so when dirt level is above 0 we will see this parameter, and when it's below 0 we won't see it. Which doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Okay, maybe I have to check as a template or instance. It works. And you can do this for parameters, not for the categories here, but when you have like, I don't know, when you have like maybe 10 parameters here and you want to have them visible only when you, yeah, let's make an example like when I have the cracks density and then I have maybe cracks opacity, cracks strength, or cracks width, and cracks, I don't know, depth maybe, then you can define it on all of the parameters, and then they will only be visible when you have the driving parameter above 0. That also works with OR statements, and so for example, I don't have a good example here. Maybe let's quickly build something. Let's make this mode parameter and yeah, just the invert mask. So now I can use both of those and make it blend opacity, for example. When I've saved that and go to the instance, they will only show when blend is above 0. And we can also, for this, for example, for the invert mask, we can also define and mode equals 0. So this will only show when both cases are true. For a Boolean, it would be equals 1. So let's use this invert mask. Equals 1 or equals 0, depends. So that will then only show when the condition is true or false. And we can also do an OR condition. Yeah, you're welcome. I think this stuff is great, especially when you have a material finished and want to send it over to somebody. So then you have really clean parameters. So let's delete those. Let's also use the material finalize node. This node is great as well. I use it basically every time. It has some nice settings that you would usually do for a material when you are finished, like for example base color darkening. So this is just an ambient occlusion blend, or the sharpening, normal strengths. Height blue is also quite nice. Let's make a roughness map now. I always like to start with the hide output and invert it first. Then use a levels node and make it quite bright. And then we would add all of our other elements, like the wood, for example, which probably is a bit shinier than the wall itself. Then we'd add our edge dirt, which probably would be rougher. So let's just use an add. Our grunge. Let's also add it on top. Then we have some cracks in the material, which are usually also rougher as the rest of it. And we had some smaller cracks as well, which I think came before the big ones. Now let's expose the color so the user could change it. I in most cases I do it either with a color match or what is it called? Replace color HSL. But the replace color HSL, although it's usually not a heavy node as the color match, it does have a few issues sometimes when the input is too grainy. So for this, for example, I'd rather pick the color match, and I'll set the variation mode to from source or average, and then we can just expose the wood color here. To match our color, we'd use an average and just pick it from here. Can delete that. And now we can change the color with a parameter. So we could make it a nice gray maybe, which also looks nice. Let's maybe keep it. And for the wall, I think the replace color HSL would suffice. So we'd go back here, use an average color node on this, input it as the source, and we'll expose the wall color. I think I just picked the color from the average color node here. Let's maybe reduce the dirt a bit. And same for the other ones. I think for this one it's quite grainy as well, so I'd use a color match again. And we do the same for the wood planks, for the small ones. Color match as well. That was called geflocht, so let's go with that. So we can go to a fully clean version, to a worn one, but we'll need to, where is that? We need to expose this as edge dirt. Actually, it's still in the roughness, so I would do it a bit different. We could either input this one into the opacity here, but we'd need to lerp it, or we could also just use a blend node. Leave it at default and set the foreground to black. Then we'd use the 1- float node and input it here. So now the parameter is driven by that blend node. So fully black, there's no effect, and when we reduce the black, basically with the default mode, then we get our effect back. Same for this, but I can do it the other way around here. So we just expose this. This one is set to 14.2, so we'll use the lerp float and set it to 14.2, input it here, and then we can use this one on that node as well. The grunge doesn't have too much of an effect. We still have some issues like this here, but I don't think I will fix it on this stream here because it's just too much of a surge. So let's just hide it. But the other parameters work nicely. This is also not perfect, but I think for the stream it's okay. Like for example, at the edge we have some plaster left, but that's basically just adjustments to masks. This would be probably this one. So that comes actually from this here. Those are basically just precision issues. So yeah, I'd probably have to redo a bit of this. But I'd say let's keep it for now. That makes it worse. So yeah guys, I think that's it for now. I don't know, do you have any questions? Because I really don't want to go in and fix this stuff. I'd probably do it in offline and maybe I'll upload the file when it's really finished so you could take a look yourself. I should also clean up the graph. I think the base color looks quite nice now. AO might be a bit strong. Yeah, I mean, I could put way more work into this, but I think it's quite nice too. I'm quite happy that you could learn something. So it's quite nice that we can easily change the colors of all the elements. I probably don't like the mortar that much, but it's not really too prominent in the material, so it's okay, I guess. So yeah, I think let's finish, and I don't know, maybe if you have any ideas for other streams, let me know. And yeah, maybe we'll make something. Yeah, so thanks for watching guys, and have a great weekend.